you all, welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to be interviewing a very special person and talking about their journey and how they got into Harvard College. So if you want to know more, keep tuning in. Bye. Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to be interviewing, like I said, a very special person, and it is my little brother. Go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell them who you are.
My name's Nana. I don't know what else do I do. What else do I need for an introduction?
That's good. That's good. His name is Nana. Okay, so tell them where you go to school, Nana.
I go to Harvard studying biomedical engineering with a secondary in CS.
Very nice. Very nice. How old are you?
19.
19. Okay, so let's start with a couple of questions. Okay, so you're 19. So what year are you now? I mean, I know, but for the people.
Yeah, I'm a sophomore.
2019, you graduated high school. So when you started high school, was Harvard on the list of schools that you were like, I want to go to that school? That's like one of my tops. Or were you just like reaching for the stars when you applied?
No, actually, when I started high school, I really didn't like plan to apply to Harvard. I feel like my top schools are really like UC schools, like UCLA, Berkeley. I think even during the application process, I wasn't necessarily thinking about applying to Harvard. I think you actually told me to apply to Harvard, and then I applied. But yeah, at one point it was more so Stanford that was like one of my top schools, along with like just like Berkeley, UCLA.
Okay, so do you mind telling the people about your high school experience? Just share a little bit about that.
Yeah. So high school was, I had a really good high school experience. I was really involved in a lot of activities. I did like track, basketball my freshman year, student government, served as student body president my senior year, and was just involved in student government from sophomore year. Other clubs like Black Student Union, National Honor Society, and like community service activities and stuff. So
okay. And then so the extracurriculars that you do and that you did, you believe those helped you when you were applying to a school like Harvard or the other colleges that you applied to?
Yeah, definitely. I would say obviously along with like your grades, colleges definitely prioritize your extracurricular activities. So having come from like, I guess, a background that kind of like reflected my leadership experience, serving in positions like vice president of the National Honor Society, vice president of BSU, and also with student government. They also, kind of had a viewpoint into like my, leadership outside of the classroom. And just with like community service activities, seeing that you're about more than just, books and being in the classroom. You actually want to take what you're doing and apply it to the broader sense of the world. And I know specifically with Harvard, they do applications based on like some type of ranking system. So they kind of have like, I think it's a scale from like 1 to 5 based on, I guess like the magnitude of your different works throughout high school. So one thing they do is like rank your academics. If you're say like a National Merit Scholar, or if you have some other academic awards or recognitions, that might earn you a 5 on the scale, or you might have a 4 if you just took AP's test and you're like a very solid academic student. And then they have, they equally weight along with academics, your extracurricular leadership experience, where some people from this school come from serving political, office type of, internship type of stuff, and they'll have their high rankings. Or I served in like student government, I have my own ranking type of thing, along with, community service and other type of metrics that they use to kind of, grade applicants. So I would say, as much as academics are very important, it's very important to have balance in a sense, not only for a college, of course, but also for your own personal well-being, moving forward with life and stuff. So
absolutely. Okay, so extracurriculars, you had that impact, so down pat. So speaking of academics, do you mind sharing some of your stats, if you don't mind? I feel like some people are a little hesitant sometimes to share that information, but just if you don't mind sharing that with people, because I feel like that would help some people as well to see where your extracurriculars and your academics kind of coincided together.
Yeah. So I had on the SAT a 1500 and ACT a 33.
And what are those? Sorry to interrupt. What are those two scores out of? Like, what are the?
SAT is on the 1600. At least the last time I took it. Assuming they don't make any changes in the coming years. and then ACTs out of 36.
Okay.
So it's like I scored pretty high percentile for both tests, but I feel I took both of them once, assuming I was going to go to like a school like Berkeley or UCLA, where those scores are like,
Berkeley's a great school. Don't play us.
No, it's great. But I'm saying that for like the score range that they look at, it's like, oh yeah, that's really good. But when you go to the higher like Ivy Leagues, Stanford's, their score range is like, 15, 70.
Yeah, like a 16 out of 16.
Yeah.
Okay, and then how about your GPA and the classes and the coursework that you took to get whatever GPA you were had?
Yeah, so my GPA at the end of high school was a 4.7 weighted. Weighted. Then unweighted was a 4.0. And then classes I took a lot of AP classes. I think I took 11 AP courses. So sophomore year, I took AP World History. Junior year, I took AP US History, AP Language Arts, AP Seminar, which is kind of like a precursor to a research class I took senior year. AP Calculus BC and AP Chemistry. And then senior year, I took AP Biology, AP Government, AP Statistics, biology, chemistry, statistics. Oh, AP Research, and I'm missing one. Science. AP Literature.
Right. Okay. That's a lot. But then also, so we have to be mindful that the high school that Nana went to and that me and all my siblings went to was a school that offered a lot of AP courses. They had a wide range of courses. So there's people out there who don't have that opportunity to take that many AP courses. So what do you advise for them if they're trying to get into a school like Harvard and their school doesn't offer that many AP or advanced courses?
Well, one thing I would say is, the college process, they're a lot more, I guess, in a sense, relative than a lot of people think. I feel like a lot of people feel like they just look at you on paper and compare you directly to different applicants. But from speaking with different admissions officers, they do show, some understanding of your different situations. Everyone comes from a different type of background, has different access to different academic or, social, mental, even so, resources. So that's where, having those type of rankings within your own school, I think even with like my GPA, if I talk to some people who are in a different place that don't have as many AP courses, is extremely high. But for my school, I think that makes me like 10th place amongst like other students. So it's like everything is in a sense kind of relative. And I feel like a lot of colleges have an understanding of the different access students have. And that's why they kind of use things like the SAT or ACT to kind of, give a little bit more like equitable rankings, even though those tests in themselves aren't necessarily, don't necessarily.
That's another story.
Yeah. But yeah, so they definitely do show some understanding. And that's another great thing about the application process. And one thing I liked about my application process at Harvard, once you get the interview, that's where you really get the opportunity to show, who you are as an applicant, where you come from, kind of, the effort you put into your past 4 years of academic community type of work. Because, in a lot of the circumstances, what you have on paper might not necessarily reflect who you are as a person and, just how hard you've worked over the past so-and-so years. So I feel like, there's a lot of different avenues, like the interview, if you want to get more involved in social work to kind of balance out if you feel like you have a little lackluster on paper type of stats. I feel like, there's a lot of different avenues where you can kind of make up for any things you feel like you may be missing in your application.
Right. And for you, what area do you think really, because there's thousands of people applying to these schools. So what area in your application do you think really pointed you out as for them to accept you? Why do you think that you got in?
That's a good question. I would definitely say my leadership activities probably. Just because when you get to like really prestigious schools, honestly, the academics are they're just the thing that get the door open for you. They're not necessarily what's going to get you inside of the door, because you have thousands of kids and it becomes more competitive with each cycle. You have thousands of kids who are, academically qualified beyond, any comprehension. So really, once you pass like that certain threshold where they're willing to like look at you and give you the interview, it's really just a matter of, for one, your character as a person, For two, kind of the things and this kind of ties back into character, but like your, outside of school activities,
Yeah.
and that type of stuff, like just kind of seeing what differentiates you from just, a standard applicant, like beyond just so-and-so scoring the SAT or so-and-so scoring the ACT. What is it that, you bring to the table? Because a lot of these schools, it's not just about what they can do for you in your academic pursuits,
What
but a
you
lot
can
of the
do for
time it's,
them.
what you can do for them. And they're looking for that long-term type of, applicant and student who's going to not only, be there to learn and access resources, but contribute back to their academic community, both in like their tenure at the school and long-term potentially. So when you get into that interview process, that's really what they're looking for, what type of person you are, and if you fit their kind of academic community that they're trying to build.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for that. So you definitely think it's possible for somebody who doesn't have the same stats as you to get into a school like Harvard or any other Ivy League school?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So what have you been doing now? Like what's going on? What are you studying? What are you getting into at Harvard?
So I'm studying biomedical engineering with a secondary CS, like I mentioned before. Course-wise, biomedical engineering is kind of an interdisciplinary concentration where I take a lot of bio classes, engineering classes, kind of CS classes too, which is what I really like about it. The kind of different aspects of sciences that you take, because I like a lot of science. And a lot of people have their different academic preferences. I'm not much of a writing person, so that one writing class I took sophomore or freshman fall, I talk about it all the time because that was not it for me. So I'd much rather take like a bunch of sciences, which is what I'm doing. And then extracurricular wise, one thing I really like about college is this, with the extracurriculars, I feel like you have more of an opportunity to go in like more depth with the things that you're interested in. A lot of these extracurriculars have funding from school resources, or you just meet a lot of people who really know what they're doing and are, it's not just about, that's one thing about high school. A lot of people are doing things more so to get to the next level. Whereas when you're in college, you're doing things because you actually have a genuine interest or passion for them. So a lot of the clubs I'm in, I feel like I get that type of, space to explore more so my passions rather than look towards, just what the next step is,
it's
and how I can use this to like, elevate my resume or this and the third. So in terms of clubs, I'm doing NSA. I'm the social chair of NSA, which is Nigerian Students Association. This other club called GAMI, which is the Global Alliance for Medical Innovation. Basically, we develop kind of, I guess, hardware and software tools to be used in third world countries. Using, it's kind of hard to explain. Oh, well, the team I'm on is doing some type of research, I guess, on keratometry and epithelial defects. And we're trying to develop a device that basically, if you take a picture of the cornea of the eye, it is able to quickly, get like an imaging map of the different, I guess, like cornea defects.
Yeah.
And it's kind of weird to explain, but it's like get an imaging map of different cornea defects and basically give like a synopsis back to the clinician and patient if the patient is at any type of risk factors from say like keratoconus, which I actually have. And it's really useful.
I was about to say.
It's really useful because in a lot of countries there's not as much access to high tech and more expensive tools that would be normally used to, I guess, diagnose a patient. And a lot of times patients, since those tools are such limited access, they won't really go through the extra effort to try and find that resource themselves. So our tool is basically made to be more integrated with just a smartphone, so it's more accessible for patients and I guess like lesser affluent hospitals, in like more rural type of areas. So that's a club I'm really interested in.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's really fun. Then other clubs. Oh, I'm in this other club called Biome. It's all these clubs have like their mnemonics or their little abbreviations. That one is extremely long, so I'll just say quickly what it does. Basically, we organize different like opportunities for undergraduates to shadow with physicians in the Boston area. And then the last club I'm in is the Global Surgeons Club, and that's more so seeing access to like kind of global surgery or surgery in different nations, so globally. And for one, like I do director of research, which is more centered on research on capacity building in foreign nations, and I guess kind of like patient access to clinical care and stuff like that, and surgical
Right.
care. Because also I forgot to mention I'm a pre-med student, so I have a lot of my interests kind of coincide with like that whole medical
Yeah,
side of things.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
that was a
Wow,
lot.
that's a lot. It's a lot.
No, but that's the
But
thing.
it's
See,
good. Keep
it's
active.
only when you really count it, it's only 4 activities that I'm really,
Hmm.
really involved in.
But
But I
they're
can say,
extensive. It's
yeah, they're
actually
so,
stuff that you're
yeah,
interested in. Yeah,
exactly.
it's
There's
not
lots
like,
of
let me
different,
just do this to add it to my resume. It's like, let me do
yeah,
this because I enjoy doing it.
yeah,
That's good.
exactly.
All right. So, one other, I have a couple more questions, but this one as well. So, in this climate today, what is Harvard like as a young Black man? Do you feel like you have a good community there? Do you have a safe space? As a young Black man going to a predominantly white institution, what is that like for you?
See, my experience is definitely going to be different if you were to ask a lot of other undergraduates. For one, I came from a like predominantly white high school, so
Mm-hmm.
going to coming to this type of space wasn't necessarily that much of a change. In fact, I see more Black people because I think Harvard's like 15% Black people, whereas my high
Mm-hmm.
school is definitely much lower than that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but like for other people, they might come from schools that have more Black students, and coming to Harvard's like a real culture shock because they've never been in
Right.
that type of space. But for me personally, coming into this type of space, one thing I've really noticed is how close the Black community is.
Mm-hmm.
One thing about the Harvard Black community is if you are really involved and invested in the Black community, you will slowly slowly forget that there's a whole other groups of
Yeah,
students and
that's how
populations.
Berkeley was too.
So yeah, I would say one thing my freshman year is for when all my friends are either African or generational African Americans.
Yeah.
So kind of wanting to branch out a little more as well as one thing I started doing more so my
Mm-hmm.
sophomore year. But I would say having that type of strong foundation, especially freshman year, of friends who understood who I am. I didn't have to code switch or do any of these other
Yeah.
type of things that you got to do in spaces that are predominantly white.
Yeah.
Was very convenient and very I wouldn't trade that for anything really.
Absolutely.
Gives you like a strong level of comfort, and I feel like you just have a support system where you know that people are really looking out for you and really understand where you're coming from.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would say for me at least that transformation or that transfer wasn't really difficult. In fact, I would say I actually really enjoyed my transfer from high school to the undergraduate type of space. Um, other than that, other than like I guess more student type of social life, with professors, I would say as a Black student, I haven't really had any experiences that have been, have left like a
Negative.
bad taste in my mouth
Mm-hmm.
or anything like that.
That's good.
Um, yeah, I would say a lot of things I heard at other universities when I was visiting campuses was more so like microaggressions with different academic professors. But
Mm-hmm.
throughout my time here, I haven't really had that bad an experience. But I will not say that that does not occur because we have had professors that have either through some type of discovery of an account or they said something off in lecture. People have
Mm.
found out they got some type of history of this, that, and the third. So it's not like every single space is just, pure and, sterile of
Yeah.
any type of ignorance or anything along those lines. But I would just say, for my personal experience, I have been fortunate to not experience anything like that.
Okay. That's really good. That's really good. So through this last year, again, all the other things that were happening, we have the pandemic happening. How has your academics and stuff been since that beginning stage of COVID? And now
Yeah.
it's been almost a year since you had to leave school in March. And now everything has been online?
Yes. So I
Yeah.
would say I honestly have come to enjoy online classes just because of the flexibility I have.
Yeah.
You can fully not go to a lecture and then watch the video. Like you don't have like that type of I don't know. And I also feel like in lecture halls, I just feel a little, external pressure. Whereas in
Yeah.
the comfort of my room, just watching the lecture, I can better absorb things and go at my own type of pace. So in
Mm-hmm.
that aspect, I do like, kind of the online format. But I do definitely miss like the interaction with fellow classmates, kind of like the dialogues you can have with people, either if it's about class or just getting to meet new people in lecture hall. Lab experience was definitely missed because I would say just for my own self, first semester learning different lab skills through my
Yeah, it's
intro
like, how
life
do they,
sciences
I know,
class.
or OChem and General Chem, they all have those
Yeah,
labs and stuff.
yeah, I'll explain
That's
that as
interesting.
well.
Yeah.
So I would say, yeah, that was definitely something that was lost. But I will say that the professors from all of my courses taken this semester, last semester, and over summer have been very adaptable. Like they've been very flexible. Classes with labs, they sent us back lab kits so that we could perform the experiments at home.
Mm.
Resources, they had continuous office hours over Zoom, were very available. And just made like the transition process to online learning, especially for those who had, spring when everything kicked off. They really worked their butts off because they had to be the first ones to, bear the brunt of all of that.
Mm.
So I would say for me personally, largely because of how it was handled by my personal professors, the transition wasn't that difficult. And, my classes have been pretty manageable, pretty fine for me so far.
Okay, that's good. All right, so what are your future goals? What statement do you want to leave in this world? What are your hopes and dreams?
That's a deep question.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
I would say right now, my immediate next step after college is to get my MD, like go to medical school. Right now, I've started doing research, and that's kind of changed my path a little bit because now I'm looking at MD PhD programs.
Mm-hmm.
But those are like 8 years, so that's
That's what
also
you
a
want.
little that's also a
Why
little
not?
point of interest. But I would say the thing for me the most that's for one made I guess narrowing my path down the most difficult is I want to be in a position where I am able to help people and help people,
Mm.
to the greatest capacity I can do so. Um, and that's one thing about being a doctor. Doctor, I really like the patient interaction, the feeling you get when you actually help somebody directly. But at the same time, if you're a doctor working in certain spaces, I feel like for one, you have kind of a restriction on like the capacity of change that you can make. For example of this, after talking with some, other medical professionals, it's kind of like if you want to be a doctor that not only, helps people, but also makes a good amount of money, you're going to probably work in communities that are more affluent. If you're working in communities
Mm-hmm.
that are more affluent, they already probably have access to, decent health resources and
Mm-hmm.
people who have, adequate health insurance, this, that, and the third. But if you really want to work in those, less affluent communities that are more hit by the brunt of poverty,
Yeah.
less access to care, you're also going to have to take a hit in terms of
Yeah. It's
how
a
much you're
catch
going to live.
22. Mm-hmm.
And even still, if you do work in those type of communities, it's how broad can your reach be as a doctor? So that's really one thing that spurs me more towards research. Where who knows, maybe I can like with clubs like GAMI, develop some type of tool that's give
Yep.
people greater access to it, and in the long term makes a sizable change to how people are able to access care in the and I don't know just have better access
Yeah.
overall across the system. So I would say it's really hard to narrow it down. I feel like as a
It's
sophomore right
still
now,
early days.
yeah, I'm
At least
hoping
you have
to
an idea of what things you want to do in
yeah,
life, you know?
yeah. So I would
You're
say
still
anything that
young,
lets me
so
change. Yeah,
yeah,
I'd say
absolutely.
anything that lets me just make some type of change that's long lasting, largely felt,
Hmm.
um, doesn't just target one
Global change.
socioeconomic. Yeah, it doesn't
Yes.
just target the people who are already privileged. Even though helping people is helping people, just something that hits people, especially those who need it the most. Um, Something like that. That type of change is the type of change I would want
Ooh, amen to that, brother. Okay.
to leave.
So my last question is, what advice would you give to someone who's trying to be right where you're at, whether it's at Harvard, Princeton, Cal State, or just in college in general? You as a young Black man wants to be in your position. What advice would you give to that next person sitting next to you?
Interesting. I would say one thing that's helped me a lot is the idea of I think this is actually Kobe Bryant, kind of Mamba mentality.
Yeah.
Kind of looking at the person to your side, seeing their best quality traits and saying, I want to be, I want to take that and I want to take it a step further. And
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people, stray away from kind of like the, I guess, aspect of comparison. But I personally feel like if you do comparison, not so much to degrade yourself or put yourself down or put the other person down, but more so recognizing the greatness somebody else possesses and recognizing the greatness that you yourself can achieve when doing that, you have unlimited potential in this world. One thing I would say about myself that I have come to really develop is I don't ever put limitations on what I can do or what I can become. For example, Samantha knows this. I really want to be able to sing, but I can't sing at all.
Yes,
but I still,
he really tries.
I'll never say I can't sing because I'm still going. Just Samantha can sing, so why can't I sing? We basically have the same genetic too. So, so I feel like just having that type of perspective of if someone is doing this so great, that doesn't put a damper on what I'm doing right now.
Nothing can stop you.
I can do exactly what they're doing, and I can do it even more so. I can push this to the next step.
I don't know about singing, but yes, a lot of things you can do, brother.
Yes, I would say that. So I would say that type of mentality, if you have that mentality and you really stand by it, you'll get anywhere. Because as you keep going up to the next level, you'll find somebody else and you'll be like, hey,
can only go up. You know what I'm saying? That mentality will only take you up. It's not taking you anywhere else. Well, thank you so much, Nana. I'm so proud of you. Thank you so much for joining. You take out your time to study, and I appreciate it. But yes, I'm so proud of you, the young man that you're becoming. You're in a whole different state than me now. So, we talk very often, all of my siblings do, but I'm just so proud of Nana. He's the baby out of all of us. And yeah, so we all are just very proud of him and his position that he's in and just his mentality, and he's just a good kid. So that's the most important part.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Thank you all for joining us. Hope you all enjoyed this video. Peace. Woo! Oh, this hit. That was great, Nana. Good job.
Answering questions on the fly is nerve-wracking.
No, you did good.